One of the biggest problems I had growing up until now is just this feeling of impending doom. The feeling of like something bad is going to happen to me. you know it's like, especially in the situations when life is really peaceful. you know in those situations, there's something that is going on inside me that is like, it's just like, yo, this is way too peaceful. Because I've always been this kind of person that kind of has some sort of this anxiety, or like, like a stressful situation that I'm constantly dealing with. And always, like always, there's problems that come your way, and it goes away, it fades away. And when one problem goes away, a different problem comes. That's life, right? And that's kind of usual to me. That is something that is really familiar to me. And you can cope with that. It's just like, yeah, it's a different problem, I have to deal with this problem. And that's when I am actually kind of peaceful, because I can tolerate that problem, but at the same time I know there's something going on. So there's no impending doom. But with situations when like there's no problem, which is quite rare for me, but there's situations when life is really peaceful, that's when it's just like, yo, it's like, why is this so like, it's like nice. This is not supposed to be this nice. Like, it's been like 3 months, 4 months, like nothing bad, or like nothing is, it's like stressing me, or like there's no problem in my life. Like, why is this happening? And in those situations, I'm just like, yeah, it's like, what should I do? It's like, should I create a problem myself? Like, because the feeling of impending doom, or something bad is gonna happen, it's much worse. Especially for me, it's much worse, because there's a possibility of something really bad is gonna happen. There's a your mind can create something which is really big. you know and the problem that usually comes is pretty small. So when you're dealing with a present problem that is going on in your life, it's so much easier to deal with that, because for in situations where there's a big problem in your life, obviously it's hard, it's really tough to deal with that. I've been through some of those problems in my life. And it's a really, it's like draining. Those problems are draining and consuming. It just gives you a lot of stress, just cannot function really. Especially in especially those times when I had insomnia. In those periods of periods, what the fuck, periods of time, I definitely did struggle with those. It's just like constant, like big stress. But like normally, life throws like small little problems that you can definitely tolerate, and you do tolerate. But it's like, I don't know why this is happening though. Like, I don't know why people just have this. Some people, I would say, because there's a portion of people that don't actually know what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of people also that I know for a fact they know this situation of this impending doom when something peaceful is going on. I think it just stems from this childhood trauma that people go through. I don't want to throw the word trauma just lightly, but it's like if you got kind of bullied in school, or like you're always kind of on edge since you're like a child, you kind of have carried that personality with yourself till the time you're an adult. And it kind of goes with you in your life, unless you actually address that issue. And I'm definitely am trying to address that issue, trying different methods and stuff. But yeah, it's a big issue. And I think it all comes from this childhood path of, like, for example, with me, it's like there were a bunch of these like motherfuckers that used to like used to fuck with me in school. I was a fat kid, and they found the best fucking motherfucker. I used to get really triggered with those things they did. Especially just just like punching and shit, like, and or like just ripping your clothes, and just did some really violent stuff, or like just full on made fun of you. those kind of situations kind of stay with you. You think it's just like a normal childhood experience, but I was always on edge, you know. Even going to the bathroom, I was always, you know, looking like, uh, just so many times looking backwards. Is someone behind me? Someone is gonna do something to me. So I was always in a state of fear and high cortisol level, and it always stayed. It always stayed. You know, situation changed. Like I'm not that kid anymore, but that, like, it's just still with me, you know, the feeling of like, is something coming my way, or like, it's like, why is it so peaceful, like, you know, that is something that needs to be addressed by people that actually go through this, and also by me. And it can be done through firstly addressing the situation. That's the first step. And you know, maybe there's some books or like self-help people that can help me as well as you, you know, and hopefully we find a way.